rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillah, alhamdulillah. As-salatu was-salam ala rasulillahi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Welcome everybody from around the world. My name is Bilal Abdul Kareem and this is the BAK Show, where we discuss the issues which are important to you, to the Muslim Ummah. I am your host and I'm very happy to be here during these last 10 blessed nights of Ramadan. Brothers and sisters, as I said, we are broadcasting live, and here on this show, we give you an opportunity to send in your questions, your comments, and your concerns, and we'll read them right here on air. So it's a family show, so keep it clean. But we will read your comments. You don't have to always agree with me. It does make a difference and all, and we'll read it here. We've got a couple of things that we're going to need to discuss before we get to your questions and your answers. It was a difficult day because Al Jazeera journalist Hussam Shabbat was killed today in an Israeli strike on his home. 65 people were killed today. He was one of them, and it is widely believed, and I believe, that he was targeted along with 170 other journalists who've been killed in the Palestinian territories since the start of this conflict. You don't kill 170 journalists when it kind of just happens. It's like, oh, we didn't know he was there. No, they purposely do not want these truths to be told. And when you have people who are telling these truths, they are targeted. And that's exactly what happened. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on him, Ameen, and not to have mercy on those who targeted him, participated in the discussions to kill him, or had any role in his killing, Ameen. It's also another difficult day because the United Nations has decided to, quote, take the, quote, difficult decision to reduce the organization's footprint in Gaza, end quote. That's despite the need to have the United Nations in Gaza at this particular time, more than ever. But another one of their colleagues from Bulgaria this time were killed in a tank attack on another UN compound. And this just keeps happening, brothers and sisters. It doesn't end. But the issue is that there's no action that's taking place against the Israeli government. It's a lot of people pushing and saber rattling. But at the end of the day, the United Nations is a punchless organization, except when they're dealing with old dictators or something along those lines. Because the Israelis are operating with impunity, and come on, man, who can't see the killings which are taking place here? Who can't see that the people, the civilian infrastructure has been targeted? It's a war crime, and it's another war crime to use food as a weapon, which is exactly what they've done, because they've cut off the access to all aid trucks, all medicine, and then they bombed medical facilities. The Turkish-Palestinian hospital, which is the only cancer patient facility in the Gaza Strip, was destroyed just 2 days ago. So, brothers and sisters, this is really a very serious and dire situation, and I really think that it was difficult to see Hussam Shabbat. You know, myself having covered these types of stories many, many times, to see that he was taken out in this fashion was a difficult thing. But we ask Allah to reward him for his efforts. Ameen. Okay, brothers and sisters, just that you know, you can send your questions, your comments, and your concerns. I want to play something for you. This is a video which we produced that's discussing a detainee's issue here in Syria. His name's Abu Shuaib Misri. I want you to take a look at it, and we're going to discuss it when it's over. And I'll tell you more about why we decided to produce it. Let's take a look, and let's see what we have here. Yeah, here we go. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Bilal Abdul Kareem for OGN. Today we need to talk about Abu Shuaib Misri. Abu Shuaib Misri is an Egyptian who came to this country years ago to alleviate the suffering of the Syrian people at the hands of Bashar al-Assad. He and thousands of other muhajirin, along with thousands more of the Syrian people who fought against Bashar al-Assad, they were successful, walhamdulillah. However, just to give you a little bit of background, Abu Shuaib al-Misri was arrested basically for being a dissident going back last year. He was then, according to him, severely tortured to the extent that he needed an operation on his feet because to remove the dead flesh from the whippings and the beatings which he sustained during torture during his incarceration. After some months, he was released from the prison. Now, when he was released, he alleged that there were children in the prison of Ahmed Shara or Hayat Tahrir Sham at that time. He was rearrested all over again. Now, his wife spent months trying to visit him, but just recently she visited him and she said that she was shocked to see the extent of new bruises and signs of torture on her husband's body, including on his feet, which were already weakened from torture from the last incarceration. So therefore, I am saying that it is now time for the government, the new government in Damascus, to come forward and make clear that torture is no longer accepted in Syria. I will say that again. We will not go back to the days of Sayyidinaya and back to the days of torture and indefinite detention at the hands of Bashar al-Assad. We are now calling for the release of Abu Shuaib al-Misri and the return of him back to his family. I am Bilal Abdul Kareem. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum. The injuries which he sustained were confirmed again by his wife when she went to go and visit him. And she said, quote, that she was shocked to see that there were new signs of torture on her husband's body, that she said she was shocked. This is a statement from his wife. And look, brothers and sisters, some people are going to sit there and they're going to say, listen, Bilal, this is not the time to bring this up. This is not the time to discuss this. Look, we've got the Kurdish militia forces are still in play. We've got problems with the Druze community. We've got the Israelis, which have come into the Syrian territory and set up shop 25 kilometers from Damascus. Why are you bringing this up now? Okay, I would say this. This would be my response to that. The issue is that we're never going to be able to take on these enemies unless we have the support of the people. I think everybody can agree with that. We will never be able to fight these enemies unless we have the support of the people. And by default, we're not going to have the support of the people if we're still torturing people. That is what sank Bashar al-Assad and his father. That's the reality, or I should say, in his father's legacy. That's the reality of the situation. So all we're saying here is not give us a seat at the table, not anything too difficult. We don't want to join the list of people who are unhappy with the current government. What we want is simple: no torture in Syria. We would like for the government to come forward and to make an i'tiraf, or a pronouncement, an acknowledgement that Syria has been abolished. I'm sorry, that torture has been abolished in Syria. Up until now, it's still happening. I'm really sorry, brothers and sisters. I don't want to be a dissident. I really don't. But also at the same time, we simply can't have what's happening now. And we all need to be on the same page, pulling in the same direction, fighting in the same trench. And I want that. I want to be that person who is totally allied with the new government, but I'm going to need to see some judicial changes first. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. You might agree with that. You might not agree with that. And I'll be looking forward to hearing your comments. Um, why don't you tell me? Yeah, Bilal, I agree because, or no, Bilal, I don't agree because, and that's where we are in this situation. And Allah Subhanahu wa Taala knows best. Yes. Before we begin, I want to let everybody know about a project that we're working on here. Just stay with me for a second here. What we are doing is we are working on a project called Voices of Truth. And this is our crowdfunding page that you can see right there on the screen now. It's medina.com/voices of truth. What we're attempting to do is to document the abuses of torture, indefinite detention, enforced disappearances that took place under the regime of Bashar al-Assad. Why? Because we don't want people coming several years later saying, oh, Bashar al-Assad was a good thing. Why did these revolutionaries do what they did, and so on and so forth. So we want to document it so that these, where we're doing interviews with people who were affected by Bashar al-Assad's government and making them available to the public, little short 10-minute interviews so that people will not be able to come later on and then all of a sudden want to whitewash the reputation of Bashar al-Assad. And we need your help. Brothers and sisters, if you can donate, particularly during these last 10 blessed nights of Ramadan, anything towards the cause of helping us to document these cases and giving a voice to those people who did not have a voice for so long, it would be really, really appreciated. $5, $10, $20, $100. I would be ecstatic to have anything that you could offer to us. Jazakallah khair, and you'll be able to take a look at it yourself, inshallah ta'ala. All right, now let's go back here and let's take a look at a few things that we have. Okay. All right. Okay, first of all, we've got Waqar Salim, who says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Jazakallahu khaira, Ameen, Allahumma barak alayh, Ameen, Hafidakullah, Ameen, Ameen, Allah yahfadak ya akhi. We really appreciate it. All right. He says here, whom are the most powerful Muslim Sunni leaders whom we hope that Allah guides, rectifies, and unite them upon Tawheed, Ikhlas, and the Sunnah in every aspect to overcome ourselves, Shaitan, and Kufar? Brother, I hope and I pray that he guides all of the Muslim leaders. And I hope and I pray that Ahmed Shara Abu Muhammad Jolani is number one on the list. I want him to succeed. I do. And I'd like to be of those who help him to succeed. I really do, and Allah knows best. But I really want to see that. The Syrian people have suffered enough. Enough. It's time to move on from certain things. And I think that, and there's some good people that are surrounding him. There's no question about that. No ifs, no ands, or buts about it and all. But the Prophet ﷺ said that when you see an evil, then you should change it with your hand. And if you can't do that, you should speak out against it. And if you can't do that, then you should hate it in your heart. And that's the weakest of faith. So you've got to understand that tyrannical governments are not born in a vacuum. They don't start out that way. There has to be, if you look at every powerful country, if you look at America, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, all of these countries have something in common, wherein they have people who oppose certain practices of the government and they speak out against that and they push their agenda without resorting to violence and shooting each other and killing each other. Now, some people say, yeah, because they have a democracy. That right there is not democracy. That's being able to understand that you're living in a uh, in a society where there are multiple opinions about certain things, and each of them have the right to push their opinion in a peaceful, calm fashion. That is what makes these countries strong, because then the people support that government. But when that is taken away, then people resort to violence, and other practices, which just keep a circle of bad behavior going round and round and round, and therefore nobody benefits, certainly not the people. So I pray to Allah that all of the Muslim rulers and leaders are guided, but I hope that Ahmed Shara is going to be first in line. Now, okay. Okay, Muhammad says here, he says, even Jolani and Taliban are murtadeen apostates. Dude, I haven't got a clue what you're talking about here. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. But question, what are you basing that on? Muhammad, we have enough time in the show where you can send in your comment. You're saying that Jolani is a murtad and an apostate. You're saying that the Taliban are murtadeen and apostates. Okay, what is that based on? Maybe you can list and you can tell us what that's about so that we can understand. I mean, I'm not going to speculate, but if you tell us, okay, well, he's got something else here. He says, there's no doubt at all. Every Muslim should know that those who rule other than what Allah revealed are kuffar 1000%. Okay, so let me make sure I understand this. The first issue is that the Taliban are not ruling by what Allah revealed. And if not, then can you help us to understand where they're falling short, where they are blatantly ignoring the Quran and Sunnah and knowingly and choosing to do something other than that? So I'd love to hear what you have to say in that regard. Because you can't make just statements like this, say, oh, everybody knows that. No, I don't know that because you didn't say anything. But when you do say something, I'd be willing to let the people know what you say. But up until now, just throwing accusations that, oh man, everybody knows, that's not going to work. Come on, brother. Let's be serious here, okay? Okay. So it says even Brother Bilal knows that Al Jolani is a murtad kafir. I don't know that. And who told you that I know that? Did I ever say that Abu Muhammad Jolani was a murtad kafir? You never heard me say anything like that, either publicly or privately. He does things that I don't like, big time things that I don't like, and things that I would speak out against, big time. But to say that I think that he's a murtad and a kafir, come on, man. Ah, you just talking, man. And you got nothing. You got nothing to back it up on, And then it goes on. Can you help Brother Muhammad to tie his tongue by putting him in timeout? Yeah, we might have to put him in timeout and all, but I'm not going to do that because I did ask him if he could provide us with some proof, and if he can do that, then we're in good shape. If he can't do that, then All right. All right. Assassin with Qalam says, now he makes a good point here. He says, Brother Bilal, wouldn't it be fair to say that it takes time to change everything? I mean, Syria is 5 kilometers, isn't 5 kilometers by 5 kilometers. Brother, let me explain something to you. To say that it takes time is a gross understatement. This country has been decimated by the Assad family. There's no way in the world that things are going to change overnight. It's just not going to happen. You see, but you see, the Taliban did something very, very interesting in Afghanistan, and their emir gave an order to their intelligence agencies in the country that torture is banned. I'm going to say that again. He gave an order that was public, that wherein he stated that torture in Afghanistan is banned. That's Afghanistan. That's the Taliban. Those are the ones that this Muhammad person said were apostates. Don't know why I said it, but anyway. Okay. Now, the question's got to go out. Is there still torture in Afghanistan? Probably so. Is there torture in America? Yes, there is. Is there torture sometimes in other Western countries? Yes, torture is there. But wait a minute. What's the catch here? The catch here is that it's not state-sponsored. It's not sanctioned by the government. And those acts of torture which take place are considered to be prosecutable by the state. But when the state is given the order, when the state is condoning it, when the state is allowing it, and in cases encouraging it, what are you going to prosecute? Who are you going to prosecute? You can't prosecute somebody who's acting on the orders of the state. So the point that's being made here is that if there's a declaration that torture is now considered to be banned in Syria and in Syrian territories, excellent. Now all we have to do now is just enforce it. But we don't have that as of yet, and we're hoping we're going to have it, inshallah ta'ala, and we'll be looking forward to it, and we're open to any dialogue with the government. But at the same time, if we don't have a strict, explicit, and clear statement that torture is no longer welcome in Syria, then we're not really on the right path as of yet. Now, we hope we're going to have that. Who knows? Maybe members of the government will come forward and say that. And then all we have to do is just work towards enforcing it. And yes, got to work towards enforcing it. It's not going to be enough just to say, nah, we don't do no stuff like that. That's not going to be enough. It has to be followed up on. And we're going to be willing to follow it up, to follow that up. And somebody might sit there and say, okay, Bilal, well, who appointed you to follow it up? Because I'm Muslim. Well, do I need something more than that to follow up on cases of Muslims who have been incarcerated, just to follow up that they are given an opportunity to adequately defend themselves in a court? That's all we want. That's all we want. We want them to have the opportunity to defend themselves in court, not to be beaten or mistreated in detention. Unfortunately, not only in HTS prisons, but in other prisons as well, brother, they do some very, very strange things. We had cases where people were as young as 17 years old, and he was arrested and forced to admit that he was a part of ISIS, and he was told that the beatings would stop and he would be allowed to go home to his mother if he just admitted. So he did. Ended up spending 3.5 years in prison. Long story. We'll talk about it at some time. All righty. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Saleh Abdurrahim says, I heard they banned Kitab al-Tawheed. I think you're referring to Afghanistan. I've also heard that they aren't given the proper punishment to Bathsheba's creeps. Allahu Alam. Okay. First issue is that banning a certain book, even if it's a book by a sheikh that you love, banning that book doesn't mean an abandonment of the Sharia. It doesn't mean it. I'm not defending it. I benefited immensely from Kitab al-Tawheed. Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, may Allah have mercy on him, made great contributions scholastically, scholarly to this ummah, which doesn't necessarily mean you're going to agree with everything that he said, everything that he wrote. It doesn't mean that. But also at the same time, if in a certain area the authorities ban that book, that doesn't necessarily mean that they've got Muslim blood flowing from their fangs or anything like that. And we may not agree, even if that's true. I'm not saying it's not true. It very well might be. But to say that, well, we're going to ban, that all of a sudden just because my sheikh's books are not allowed to be on the shelves and it would be a crime to read it, that means in and of itself that these people are not on Sharia. That would be tantamount to saying that your sheikh embodies the Sharia, and if you're with your sheikh, then you're with Sharia, and if you're not with your sheikh, then you're against Sharia. That's what it says, and Allah knows best. Alrighty. Alrighty, we have here, mashallah, we have Assassin of Qalam. Brother Bilal, since this is my first live I joined, I want to tell you I have been following your work and I ask Allah to grant you Jannah for all the efforts that you make. Ameen, ameen. Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. Okay, next, we have Omar who says, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Bilal. Abdul Kareem, my question from 2 days ago wasn't answered. Should Abu Muhammad step in northeast Syria and stop Turkey and SDF militias from wreaking havoc in Syria? In other words, should Abu Muhammad step in northeast Syria and stop Turkey and SDF militias from wreaking havoc in Syria? Okay, Abu Muhammad Jolani has a presence in northern Syria, but I guess you're talking about in the Qamishli areas and those areas that are under the control of the Kurdish militia forces now. An agreement was reached. All of the details of the agreement have not been made public, and it's supposed to take place in phases. We should be seeing some movement in that regard towards the end of the year. I don't have good experiences with the Kurdish militia forces, so I have my doubts whether it's actually going to happen, but we'll have to wait and see. But I didn't quite understand your question. It says, should they stop Turkey and SDF militia from wreaking havoc in Syria? I didn't quite understand that. If you could just help me to understand what that's about, it would be good. Now, Mo Maestro says, have you found out about Muslim Shishani? Unfortunately, I did not, and I'm writing this down right now so that I can find out and then get back to you, because I believe people have asked about him several times. Okay. Let's see. Okay, and also asks, is Omar Diaby still in Syria? To my knowledge, yes, he is. Yes, he is. Okay. All right. Okay, brothers and sisters, look, I want to, at this point, once again, remind everybody to please do help us out. We've got our project that we're working on, which is Voices of Truth. We really need your financial support If you could please help us out with a donation, this is our crowdfunding page that's there, medina.com/voices of truth. Please help us out with whatever you can. If you can't help us out with any financial contribution, particularly in these last nights of Ramadan, please help us with any type of du'as that will help to push us along. I am your host, Bilal Abdul Kareem. Jazakum Allahu khaira. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.